The next day, Takumi successfully created the refrigerators he had long desired. His friends were amazed by the invention and even used it to cool off, though he reminded them that wasn't its intended purpose. Crafting it had been a challenge he had to synthesize an alloy of iron, chromium, nickel, and stainless steel while maintaining focus to shape the box. Using a magical ice system, it functioned perfectly, making Maria happy since she could now cook with fresh ingredients. Meanwhile, Takumi was more concerned about choosing the right color, with Sophia suggesting sky blue. Motivated by this success, Takumi set his sights on the team's next project upgrading their equipment. Having recently leveled up in smithing and alchemy, he planned to craft armor from mithril and adamantite, both extremely durable materials. His friends supported the idea, and even Maple wanted enhancements, though Takumi advised her not to rush her growth. Since skilled blacksmiths for such rare materials were scarce in Bolton, Takumi considered seeking one in the Gnomestral Kingdom. The guild receptionist promised to provide information about smiths outside the region. He also questioned whether Takumi was an alchemist, as handling such tough materials required immense magical power, even at a beginner level. Luckily, a mine rich in mithril and adamantite lay just a few hours northwest in Barkula. However, access was restricted to blacksmith guild members. The receptionist proposed a loophole. Takumi could take a guild quest to clear monsters in the mine, allowing him entry as an emergency worker. Shifting topics, the guild master noted that Bolton had almost no treant wood, a rare material overlooked by adventurers hunting black buffalo. With few willing to risk encounters with wild beasts, the wood had become exclusive to the city. However, this shortage led to an increase in wood monsters in the Forest of Death. Interestingly, Takumi's route coincided with his next mission, making it easy to hunt a few monsters along the way. However, it was the guild leader's persistence that ultimately forced him to accept the task. Fortunately, with his space-time magic, teleportation would make things much easier. To make matters worse, a blacksmith had requested an escort to the same destination as Takumi, piling yet another job onto his already overwhelming workload. The guild leader reassured him that completing all these tasks would quickly raise his rank to D, while his friends would reach E just by accompanying him. Though this sounded appealing, Takumi had never escorted anyone before, and there was a chance the Lion's Fang group would also take the job. However, they were occupied with another mission, leaving him no choice but to handle it himself. Since it was a 7-day journey, the guild suggested using a monster horse to cut the trip down to 4 days. Unfortunately, they only had normal horses available. At that moment, Riel appeared to apologize, as he had been the one using the monster horses. The receptionist, however, was more concerned about whether Riel had completed his mission, which was still pending due to a black buffalo appearing along the way. This was unusual, as monsters had never been this aggressive before, making escort missions riskier than usual. As a result, the guild started offering extra rewards for taking on missions. Takumi then invited Riel to his home to rest and eat if needed, though not immediately, as the day was already packed. Meanwhile, Papek lent Takumi a personal carriage in exchange for selling him extracted materials in bulk, a deal Takumi gladly accepted. The old man also praised his refrigeration invention, though he had accidentally damaged it while testing it. By sunset, Sophia grew worried. Since Takumi had never taken this long to return, Sophia had a strong feeling that something was wrong and considered going to rescue him. That night, Takumi felt anxious as well. This might finally be his chance to find a real blacksmith. Despite speaking to several smiths, none had much contact with the one he sought, Hans. Just then, a sudden noise interrupted their conversation, and Riel sensed an approaching Anamaya hooded figure that made him instinctively want to flee. Before he could react, the figure struck, revealing herself to be Sophia. Overcome with worry for her lord, she had rushed out to find him, nearly taking Riel's life by mistake. Realizing her blunder, Sophia dropped to her knees and apologized, believing Takumi had been kidnapped. Upon arriving at Takumi's friend's house, Riel was completely lost. Even more so when he saw an evolved Maple standing before him now, a breathtaking beauty. However, to Maple, Riel was nothing but a nuisance, so she asked him to bathe before coming near her. This deeply depressed the young man, as his friend was surrounded by beautiful women while he had nowhere to spend the night. Immediately, our protagonist explained to his friend that none of them were his girlfriends. Upon hearing this, a quick-thinking Riel tried to charm Sophia, but her body and soul belonged to Takumi, and even Maria had made the same promise. This ultimately led to Riel crying while bathing, as he had been rejected for being so unattractive. Back with the group, thanks to Sophia, they decided to head straight for their special mission, as it would bring them enormous benefits and allow them to buy plenty of supplies. With that said, we see a massive magic-draining sword that Takumi wished to wield. However, due to its size, for the time being, his only option was to destroy it with magic. Yet, the ancient seal on the rock remained too powerful, leaving the young man with no choice but to struggle against the material until he achieved the desired smelting. And so, the magic-draining sword was finally forged, but at the cost of all of the protagonist's magical energy, and one of the weapons already had an owner. Because of this, the next day, everyone was ready to meet a rough man named Gambo, who thanked them for taking the mission. Nearby, we see that Maria was quite skilled at handling carriage horses, which had a simple explanation: she had been forced to learn how to ride so she wouldn't be so useless, according to her own words. Far from them, a last-minute report arrived, stating that the monsters in the forests had been more active this past year. This meant that our protagonist group would likely encounter one soon. Meanwhile, Papel received the gratitude of His Majesty for the toilet he had sent him. At the same time, he was informed that recent news had been problematic, as the Sidonia Empire had begun taking action. Now with Akira, he was fighting against Yamato, but unable to do much, the battle was decided by the sheer difference in strength between them. However, for Akira, who had achieved so much, surrender was not an option. Back with our protagonists, they knew the monsters shouldn't be venturing this far. So, to prevent anything bad from happening to their new friend, they decided that a simple protective barrier would suffice to keep him safe. This did not bother Jambo, who knew they weren't there just to protect him. Inside the forest, Takumi began asking Sophia for clues on how to distinguish a treant from a normal tree. She explained that they looked almost identical to regular trees, with the only difference being that they had a distinct aura. With magical detection, they would be able to hunt them down. In fact, Sophia had already sensed one right in front of them, so all that was left was to capture the tree, which, the moment it felt threatened, began to defend itself as best it could. But anyway, the protagonist was stronger and ended his life, an act that leveled up his system. And since they had already seen one of their companions pass to the afterlife, now everyone would be much more alert to avoid being taken down. Sophia thought once again that it would take too long if they dealt with them the old-fashioned way, so in no time, a slicing wind spell appeared, leaving no trees in the area. Along with her friends, the group was gradually able to defeat the treants. But the real problem arose when an elder monster was ready to end their lives. However, with Sophia's magic combined with Marie's and Takumi delivering the final blow, the monster didn't last long at first. But thanks to its healing ability, the tree quickly recovered all its roots. This left only one option to defeat it, attacking in a single powerful strike. With some fire magic and Sophia by his side, our protagonist managed to buy enough time to take down the ancient tree. The tree ended up bearing fruit due to the intense battle, but these fruits were anything but ordinary. They were so rare that many people had never even tasted them in their lifetime. Hours later, after defeating the treants, the group arrived at their next destination, a mining town. A picturesque place that housed an adventurer's guild branch, and exterminating rogue moles was considered a great mission according to Gambo, as these mineral-eating monsters were the biggest threat to the area. The group accepted a quest to clear a mine of pests, and while working, they unexpectedly discovered mithril and close-by adamantite. However, their success was interrupted when iron moles began emerging. With Maria's light magic, the mole was quickly subdued, allowing Sophia to deliver the final blow. The miner was impressed, unaware that light was a mole's weakness, but Takumi had logically assumed it due to moles living in the dark. Sophia found it strange how easy the battle was, and Maria fell down for only fighting from a distance. To cheer her up, the girls reassured her, while Takumi mined the necessary materials. The next day, they received a blacksmithing lesson and forged better equipment, including a magical knife. The girls then received special armor infused with their elemental powers, while Takumi's armor granted him lightning-like speed and power. Sophia's wind-enhanced spear and Maria's fire spear were completed, but Sophia humbly requested a shield to fight with, ready to protect Takumi with her life. Nolan, watching from afar, was reminded of a painful war memory. Meanwhile, in Sidonia, Akira and Yamato prepared to create chaos for their kingdom's benefit. Takumi finished the shield Sophia requested, but felt guilty for making his lord work so hard. Back in Balikatos, the king received a threatening letter, signaling an inevitable war between the kingdoms. If you've made it this far into the video, don't forget to write the word exquisito in the comment section. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.